Chance Westry has been fully cleared, and that means Syracuse basketball's ceiling has been raised for the upcoming season.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and thank you for making us your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And on today's show, Chance Westry has been fully cleared. He is good to go for next season, and that means the ceiling has been raised for Syracuse basketball. We're also going to take a look at the guard rotation and the forward rotation for next season. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. The sport stops sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So if you're watching this on August 11th, you know that Syracuse football is just 20 days away. But we interrupt our Syracuse football coverage for some Syracuse basketball news, and that is the fact that just a couple days ago, from On3's Joe Tipton, he reported that Chance Westry has been medically cleared and is good to go for next season. And obviously, this is terrific news for Syracuse basketball because last season, Chance Westry missed all of it. He never saw the floor for this team in the regular season, and obviously it hurt them. This is a former top 40 recruit in 2022. He was at Auburn in his freshman season, but he only played 11 games there and was injured for most of that year. He transfers over to Syracuse, so a lot of high hopes for him. Didn't play. He was injured again with a knee injury. So obviously it's great for him. It's great for the team that Westry has been fully cleared and is good to go for next season. So what is the upside? What is now the upside for Syracuse basketball next season? First and foremost, we don't really know what Chance Westry is going to be like. We really don't, because he's only played 11 games in his collegiate career, which has been 2 seasons. And in those 11 games, they were at Auburn in 2022-23, where he averaged under 3 points a game in about 10 minutes a night. So he was more of a reserve player there. He didn't shoot the ball particularly well. He was actually 0 for 11 from the three-point line that season, I believe. He was either 0 for 11 or 0 for 14. I think it was 0 for 11. So the surface numbers obviously don't look very good, but at the same time, you have to remember, he's a true freshman and he was injured. You combine those factors together, and, well, you're going to get surface numbers that might not look that great. Before he was officially cleared, I saw him as a wild card, and I still see him as a wild card, but now his wild card is solely on what his performance is going to be like, not so much his health. He's healthy. We know he's healthy. So we can eliminate that unknown. We didn't know if Chance Westry was going to be fully cleared and good to go. Now we do, so we can eliminate that X factor. Now it's just about whether he's going to perform or not. That's the main question mark with him. So I really assumed that if you had to rate a player on a scale as a plus or a minus or as an even, I would have given Chance Westry an even solely because, well, he might not even play. We don't know. We know nothing about him because we don't even know if he's going to be healthy. Now we know he's going to be healthy for next season. So the upside with him overall, now that he is ready to go for next season, is they can do damage in the NCAA tournament. That is the upside for this team. Before Chance Westry was fully cleared, I have said to you guys, I think they're going to make the NCAA tournament. But that's really their upside there. It's hard to predict tournament success because, again, you can have a hot shooting night and then go far in the tournament. You can have a cold shooting night and you're eliminated as a 3 seed. It happens. We see it every single year, right? So it's hard to predicate on tournament success, but overall, just on face value, I thought their upside before Westry was make the tournament, but probably lose early. Now it's not to say I'm going to expect them to make the tournament, but the ceiling has been elevated to they can really make some noise, like second weekend type noise. I mean, I'm not going to go to Final Four just yet. I don't think they're that great yet. We have to see them play. But can this team potentially make the second weekend of March? Absolutely. With a fully healthy Chance Westry. We don't know how he's going to perform, but we do know that he's healthy and that we didn't know he was going to be healthy. Now we actually know. I think it is a step up from last season when we're talking about a floor-ceiling combination. For this year, I still see their downside as missing the tournament, but it would still be winning 19 to 20 regular season games. And the upside now with Westry is do damage in the NCAA tournament. So it's been elevated. I don't think their downside has changed. I think their ceiling has changed for the better. Last year, I wasn't hosting the podcast at the time, but what I would have told you guys is their upside is make the tournament, but they're probably not going to make the tournament. And worst case scenario, they finish just slightly above 500. So they ended up finishing a slightly above my expectations last year, winning 20 regular season games. I didn't see that coming really. I thought everything would have to break right for them to make the tournament. That's just what I'm saying. They nearly did. They nearly pulled it off. They just didn't get blown out in every single game they played in last year. They could have made it. But overall, the main takeaway I have when I saw the news that Chance Westry was fully cleared is that this is great. There's more upside for this team next season, and there's really no downside. There's no downside to it. That's honest. That might be better than a raised floor, a raised ceiling or a raised floor. Well, the floor is the same, but you get the idea. I was just really happy about it. I was optimistic. I felt good. Hopefully it all works out with Chance Westry, because here's the deal. If Chance Westry performs, great, terrific, outstanding. We're going to get into the guard rotation depth. We're going to get into the forward rotation depth. Him being good would do wonders for this team. If he's not that good, then, well, we didn't really, I mean, at least in my opinion, I didn't really expect much. So the floor of the team hasn't really changed. The downside hasn't really changed. It's only the possibility for this team to be better than what I think it was going to be beforehand. That is what has gone up here. So it's great news. It's great news all around. It's great for Syracuse. It's great for Chance Westry personally. It makes me feel optimistic about this team next season. It creates more intrigue with rotations. Like, what's Syracuse going to do now in their rotation? What are they going to do with the guards? What are they going to do with the forwards? Well, I'm going to explain it to you in a second here on the podcast, but it does create more stories as well. But the bottom line, the report that came out a few days ago is that Joe Tipton from On3 said that Chance Westry has been fully cleared, medically cleared. He is good to go for next season. And the ceiling for this team has been raised. Now, coming up, we're going to talk about the guard rotation depth. And then later on, we're going to get into the forward rotation depth. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen of the day. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On College Football Podcast. Spencer McLaughlin gets you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron with discussion on the upcoming season and the ever-changing landscape of college athletics, including conference realignment, the transfer portal, NIL, new college football expanded playoffs, and more. Locked On College Football is available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so we're going to continue our discussion now that Chance Westry is fully healthy for next season with looking at the guard rotation on this team for next year. We're talking about Syracuse basketball. Once again, I know we're 20 days away from football season, but we got to interrupt our football coverage because there was breaking news with basketball, and that is that Chance Westry is healthy. So let's look at the guards. There are currently 6 of them on the roster, and I don't think that's going to change. I don't think that Syracuse is going to bring anyone else in. I don't think they're going to bring in another transfer or anything like that. So the roster as is probably going to stick. The 6 guards on the roster currently, J.J. Starling, who's a holdover, Jaquan Carlos, the transfer from Hofstra. You got Chance Westry, obviously. Elijah Moore is the 4-star recruit coming in. And then you have Lucas Taylor, a Georgia State transfer. And rounding out the group, last but not least, Kyle Cuff, another holdover. So with Westry healthy, we already projected that he was going to be in the guard rotation. But now that he's healthy, you can officially pencil him in as a guard. And the guard rotation is certainly deeper. You got 6 guards, and you got 3 of which that are capable of playing point guard. Jaquan Carlos can play point guard. He led his conference in assists last season, albeit it was at Hofstra, but still, he was a 4-star transfer who was one of the best passers in the portal this offseason. You also have J.J. Starling, who was a 5-star point guard out of high school. Now, I know he hasn't played a lot of point guard in college, but we do know that he is capable of playing that position. And then you have Chance Westry. Chance Westry is capable of playing the point guard. He is 6'6", so he's also capable of playing the 3. And I'm going to discuss that with the forward rotation. But he's capable of playing 1 through 3 at 6'6", but he's got excellent court vision according to his teammates. Scouts out of high school said that he had great court vision. He can defend at a high level. So overall, he's capable of playing point guard too. Then you have 3, even 4 shooting guards, right? Elijah Moore. I'm leaving out another point guard here. Kyle Cuff. Kyle Cuff is a point guard, defensive point guard. You know what I mean. Defensive situations. That's when you can really use Kyle Cuff. Then you have 2 to 3 shooting guards, depending on what you want to play or where you want to play J.J. Starling for next season. You got Elijah Moore, obviously, the 4-star recruit. It's going to depend on whether he's hitting his shot next season and if he's going to play or not. You have Lucas Taylor, the Georgia State transfer, who can provide a little bit of shooting as well, who led his team in scoring last year. And then, of course, Starling, who was the starting shooting guard last year for this team. Now, assuming that Chance Westry is a good camp. Remember, we know he's healthy, but now we got to see if he's actually going to perform. Let's say he does perform. All right, I'm feeling optimistic on this Sunday afternoon. Let's say he does perform. I would start Chance Westry at point guard. I would. And this is a change from a couple weeks ago. If you recall, I did a Poll Friday episode where I explained that Jaquan Carlos should be the starting point guard, in part because I didn't know if Chance Westry was actually healthy. Well, now we know he's healthy. So he has a good camp. I would play Chance Westry at the 1, which would allow J.J. Starling to stay at the 2, where he was very, very effective at, especially in the second half of last season. I think it would be great. The all-upside lineup for this team is Chance Westry as the point guard, J.J. Starling at the 2, Bell at the 3, Freeman at the 4, and Lampkin at the 5. That is a really, really good starting lineup if Chance Westry can perform. We know that Starling is good. We know what Chris Bell is. We also know what he isn't. Donnie Freeman is, I don't know, only the best Syracuse recruit since Carmelo Anthony, and that's not hyperbole. We also know what Eddie Lampkin is. A very, very solid, capable starting center in a Power 5 conference. Last year at Colorado, we had 10-7. The all-upside lineup has Chance Westry as the starting point guard. Here's why it's also ideal. We're going to circle it back to the guard rotation here. It allows Jaquan Carlos to be the backup point guard, which I think is best suited for him. It's not to say that he can't start, especially as a spot starter, but do I really feel comfortable being a full-time starter? As of right now, no. I would just have to really see it over the course of the season. But for right now, while it was the safest option a couple of weeks ago, it still wasn't the best option. It's not the best option anymore. I think it's Chance Westry. Carlos as the backup point guard, got no problem with that whatsoever. I think that's really, really solid. He can also defend at a high level as well as pass. It allows Elijah Moore to develop. I know we're all excited to see Elijah Moore, and I'm not calling him a bad player or anything like that, but this team is deeper than what it was last season. And there's a lot of guards on the roster, guards with a lot of experience as well. So unless Elijah Moore is so good that Syracuse is forced to play him, they don't have to play him. Honestly, if I were to make a cross-sport comparison here, I would say it's almost like Jamie Tremble at tight end. If you recall, or if you remember, whatever, Jamie Tremble is a 4-star tight end prospect for Syracuse football this upcoming season. But he doesn't really have to play unless he doesn't have to play, right? You got Aronde Gadsden, you got Dan Villari, and you got Max Mang. So you don't have to play Jamie Tremble. It's kind of similar with Elijah Moore, although in basketball, you can get on the floor right away compared to football where even the best true freshmen aren't playing in year one. But that's kind of the cross-sport comparison I wanted to make where unless Elijah Moore is such a standout right away, you don't have to play him because they have enough guards in the rotation, especially with Chance Westry healthy. I think Lucas Taylor can still provide good depth at the guard position. I think Kyle Cuff, while he does have his limitations, he could still provide good defense in late game situations. Overall, I'm just really excited that Chance Westry is healthy because the possibilities for this team are endless. But I would say since he is healthy and assuming that he has a good camp, I would start him at point guard with JJ Starling at the 2. So it creates the all upside lineup for this team next season. And next, we're going to talk about what the forwards look like for the upcoming year. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. And speaking of Syracuse basketball, FanDuel has released the Orange's odds of winning the national championship next year at plus 12,000. Those are long shot odds, but hey, we're talking about Chance Westry here, and he's healthy. So like I said, the ceiling has been raised for this team. Now, that being said, do I think they're going to win the national championship? Probably not. But hey, plus 12,000, those are long shot odds, and you'd make a nice profit if it were to hit for this upcoming season. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. So let's continue this discussion with the forwards and what the forward rotation looks like now that Chance Westry is fully cleared, good to go for next season. And once again, great for him because he's only played 11 games in 2 years. He's dealt with a lot of injuries since he has turned into a collegiate athlete. So it's obviously great for him. It's great for the school. It's great for the fans. It creates a lot of stories. It's awesome. But now let's look at the front court. All right. Really meant to say the front court rotation, but really it could be forward rotation as well. With Westry's size, given that he is a 6'6" player, he can play 1 through 3. For those that might not really understand the basketball terminology, it means he can play point guard, he can play shooting guard, he can play small forward, 1 through 3. With his size and versatility and his ability to defend. If you look at the front court, excluding Chance Westry, it's really, really good, but it's lacking another piece, in my opinion. It's just lacking a little bit of depth, particularly at center. You got Chris Bell. We like him. Donnie Freeman, like him. Jyare Davis, the transfer from Delaware. Yeah, I like him. We've talked about him a lot here on this podcast. Eddie Lampkin, I like, yeah, cool. That's nice. And Naheem McLeod. And Naheem McLeod is like the one player where, yeah, he's not great, but at the same time, he was miscast last season. He was in a role that he was not fit to play in. Is he an effective backup center? Yes. He has proven that he can be a very effective backup center and as a spot starter. He just can't be a full-time starter, which with Eddie Lampkin now in the fold, he doesn't have to be a full-time starting center for this team, which is great. So I like Naheem McLeod because of the role that he is going to be playing in next season as a backup, where he is best served. Now, it is thin, okay, because they only have 5 there. And obviously, we don't wish anything to happen. We especially do not wish injury on anyone. And that goes for Syracuse or any team. I never wish injury on literally anyone. It doesn't matter. It can be your most hated rival. I still don't want anyone getting injured. But they do happen, and it's sports. So you have to plan for the fact that it could happen. In the event that something does happen in the front court, it is so nice that Chance Westry is, well, healthy. Because now you have insurance given that he can play the 3. You have insurance in the front court rotation. He is that utility guy. He's a utility guy. He can kind of play anywhere, 1 through 3, maybe even 4. I know he would be a small 4, but hey, why not? Houston ran a lineup last year with 3 forwards. Why not, right? I know it's Houston. I get it. They're better, but you get the idea. I would consider him 1 through 3, Chance Westry. But if Chance Westry needs to play in the forward rotation because something happens, that's fine. I don't think Syracuse would miss too much of a beat depending on what exactly happened in the front court. But what would happen, let's say something happened to a center. Something happened to either Eddie Lampkin or Naheem McLeod, one of those two. Well, obviously, one of them would still remain as a starting center, right? You can have still Chance Westry play the 3. You can have Donnie play the 4. You can play small ball as well. So overall, I guess the point that I am making is that because you have Chance Westry and because he has that versatility to play the 3, that you can move him to the front court if you need to. I would still start him as the point guard, but you can play him pretty much anywhere. Sound good? Understood? Nice, right? If he needs to go to the front court, you still have Jaquan Carlos who can run the point. You still have J.J. Starling who can run the point. You still have Kyle Cuff that can run the point like we talked about on the last segment of the podcast. You still got capable shooting guards. right? You got Lucas Taylor, there's Elijah Moore, and I know those aren't maybe necessarily the greatest pieces in the world, but it's good depth, and you need depth. More so in football than in basketball, but stuff happens. Stuff happens, and I say stuff, and you know what word I really mean, but I can't say it. Overall, it's just nice that with Westry healthy, if something were to happen to the front court for next season, which in my opinion is the stronger of the two units, you can move Chance Westry to the front court and still have a pretty solid backcourt rotation. Because remember, before Westry was healthy, I didn't really assume much from him. And so looking at it face value, I thought it would be starting point guard Carlos, starting shooting guard JJ Starling. The backups would be Lucas Taylor, Kyle Cuff, Elijah Moore, right? Now Chance Westry's healthy, so you could slide him into the guard rotation. But if something were to happen to the forwards or the centers, you can put Chance Westry in the front court. So overall, with everything being said, and like I talked about earlier in the podcast, the ceiling has been raised for this team. And leave a comment below. What do you think the ceiling is for Syracuse basketball next season? That's actually going to be the Poll Friday question. What do you think the ceiling is going to be? Is it still just make the tournament? Is it maybe win a game? Is it, I don't know, is it make the second weekend? Is it make the Final Four? What is the ceiling for this team next season? Overall, I'm going to say do damage in the tournament, so that would mean at least make the second weekend. But hey, it's definitely been raised. Have expectations really changed for me? I would say no. They haven't changed all that much. But what I am saying is that if you're looking at the range of outcomes for this team, the high end of the range has been raised, right? It's been raised. Instead of, make the tournament, win a game, it's do legitimate damage in the tournament with Chance Westry now fully healthy. Thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen today. Now go check out the Locked On College Football Podcast. From NIL deals to never-ending conference realignment rumors, Spencer McLaughlin gets you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron. You can find the link to Locked On College Football in the description, so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. So that concludes this edition of the Locked On Syracuse podcast, talking about Chance Westry, and now him being healthy raises the ceiling for this team. We went over the guard rotation and the forward rotation as well. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this video, click that like button. If you really liked it, subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications so you know right away when I am dropping the next podcast. And a reminder, I'm going to be dropping the Poll Friday question, which is going to be, what is the ceiling for this team? Tomorrow around noon. That's typically when I release Poll Friday questions, Monday around noon. It's going to be up for a few days on Twitter at @LO_Syracuse and on the YouTube community section. So be sure to vote and leave a comment what you think the ceiling is for Syracuse basketball next season. I'm in a good mood today, and everyone, take care.